Story 1. A colleague of mine once saw me take off my glasses to clean them, and she said, "Wow, without your glasses, you actually look quite good." My romantic comedy cliché moment. Story 2. When I was 14, I had cancer. After the second dose of chemotherapy, we had to buzz my hair. When one of the hospital teachers came into my room to discuss the possibilities of studying in the hospital, she patted my bald head and said, "Ah, you were such a pretty boy." I mean, it's a funny story to tell, but it wasn't so good for my lack of self-confidence as a teenage girl who had problems accepting herself even with hair. Story 3. 1. My breasts developed pretty late in junior year, and around sophomore year, I remember one of my friends telling me, "You're so lucky you don't have big breasts." Yeah, thank you too, Becky. My cousin received the comment, "You look so good in this light," in the middle of a darkened movie theater. I accidentally told my first boyfriend, "You have a beautiful member." He tried to keep a straight face while saying, "You don't really have anything to compare it to, but thanks. I guess I'm flattered." Story 4. A family member complained to my mom about hating her new driver's license photo because she thinks, "I'm so ugly." My mom asked to see the new license, looked at it and said, "Yep, that's your face. Savage as heck, Mom. Savage as heck." Story 5. When my stepmom walked into my house for Thanksgiving, the first thing she said was, "It's nicer than I remember." It's the first time she set foot in my home in 10 years, and not to be rude, but it's much nicer and cleaner than her house. It's probably not the most underhanded compliment, but it's the most recent one I can remember. Oh, I did have an extremely abusive ex-boyfriend who would threaten suicide when I would try to leave him. He refused to move out of my house and completely destroyed my mental health. Anyway, he heard me singing in the bathroom one day and was really shocked at how good I was. When I came out, he looked pensive and troubled, then looked me in the eye and said very seriously, "You know, you're really talented, intelligent, and beautiful. You really could have been something big if you hadn't dealt with so much abuse in your life." He thought he was making some big revelation, as if I wasn't already aware of him and people like him, slowly destroying my will to live. Story 6. You're such a great manager. It's going to be impossible to replace you. That's why I'm not looking forward to replacing you, an executive at my company, as the beginning of a veiled threat to fire me. Story 7. I took it as a compliment in my college freshman writing class. I didn't realize it wasn't until I was in my mid-20s, laughing my ass off. Story 8. When I was younger in high school and was learning how to mix music back in 2010, I brought a friend over who brought his friend. I showed them some of my music. His friend said, "Wow, you must spend a lot of time alone and have a lot of time on your hands." Story 9. I was taking my mother and fiancé to the opening night of the Nutcracker Ballet. I came out in a backless velvet dress when my mother said, "Oh my God, I didn't believe you could be this beautiful." She has since passed, but I never forgot that she always thought of me as the ugly child. My photo is on profile instead of the Reddit character. At 71, I still don't feel pretty, but I no longer let others' opinions of me devastate me. Story 10. Friend, I really admire you. Me, thanks. Why? Friend, your ex totally ruined your life and you're not at all bitter. Me to myself, wait, my life is ruined? Story 11. The popular girls from my friend group in high school always said they wished they had my confidence and admired my confidence. I only realized later that, as a bigger girl, that's usually not a compliment. Also, I've never been very confident laughing out loud. Story 12. My grandma's friend told her, "Your granddaughter is so pretty." My grandmother's response was, "If only she was pretty on the inside." I was right there too. Story 13. I had a friend who loved telling me, "Hey, these guys don't like you, but I do." Like, please stop with your negative comments. I don't care if you're random fraternity brothers I've never met like me. Story 14. I don't remember the exact one, but my cousins would always add something about me being adopted. For example, they would say, "You're cool even if you're adopted." I know they secretly meant it because my parents spoiled and loved me way more than they ever were. Also, in that rock movie, Red One, they explain that Krampus is Santa's brother. Then, when someone makes a funny look about it, they say, adopted brother. I was like, what? That's why he's evil, but Santa isn't? He was adopted. It's funny. Story 15. Oh Lord. So a very sweet girl I met at university thought she might know me. She went on to explain it made sense she was confused, as the girl she had known was in a very serious car accident and needed reconstructive surgery. But before that, she was a model. Lives in my head now. Story 16. You're surprisingly good at this for someone like you. It's the kind of compliment that leaves you questioning your entire existence. Like, what exactly did they expect? Story 17. When I was at that awkward age of puberty when different parts of your body decide their own pace of growing, my younger cousins would tease me and make jokes all the time because of my then rather large nose. After hearing those jokes, our grandma, while going about her business, casually threw in a reprimand. Stop it, you two cousins. What would he look like if he had a small nose on such a big head? Story 18. On a college paper, I expected to give you a much lower grade. I hung it on my fridge as a testament to why I was no longer pursuing a career in academia. Story 19. While driving around a colleague from Italy, he was criticizing Americans for being unable to drive manual transmission. I let him continue for about 15 minutes before pointing out that I had been driving a manual transmission the entire time. Story 20. From a former coworker. When you first started working here, I thought you were a stuck-up, cold person, but once I got to talking to you, you're actually quite pleasant and fun. It's hard being an anxious introvert sometimes. Story 21. You're a really cool person to be friends with. It's too bad I'm not attracted to you at all. Seriously, forget you, Sarah. I just wanted a friend, not your unpleasant attitude. Story 22. First time having a coworker over to my house. Wow, your house is clean. As if it was genuinely shocking. There was an obvious pay difference between us, and I guess poor people have to live in squalor. Story 23. I don't get this anymore because I'm old and haggard now, but early on I'd hear, you're way too pretty to be an attorney, and it used to make me cringe so badly. Story 24. Ran into my high school math teacher about 10 years after graduation. She looked at me and said, well, you're looking healthy. That Irish woman called me fat. Story 25. You look like a less fragile soror sister. Referencing the Corrs, a middle-of-the-road band made up of 3 very beautiful sisters and their brother. I absolutely took it as a compliment that I was beautiful and just not as skinny as them. I was under no illusions that I was skinny. Hey, if I'm pretty enough to look related to those beautiful women, I'll take it. Story 26. You mess up a lot, but you're a good person. Edit. Thanks for enlightening me, everyone. You made it clear to me that it was indeed a sincere compliment. At the time, I was working hard to provide for my wife and kids and was doing a pretty decent job overall. When he said that to me, I guess I simply took it to mean that I wasn't doing well enough for them. Story 27. This girl asked me to say 3 things I liked about her and 3 I didn't. I was going to say some cheesy things about not having any concerns, but she pushed me to say something. Wrong move, boys. Story 28. Jesus bless you. You're so smart, compared to the other idiots he calls friends, said my friend's mom when I visited once. It sounds like a plain insult, but the way she said it was truly hilarious. Rest in peace, sweet lady. Story 29. You're cute, but insert friend's name is way hotter than you. Like seriously. Like, she's so much hotter than you. But you're cute. Though, like I'd take you on a walk and maybe babysit you, but I'd be waiting for mama to get home. You know what I mean? No, sir, I don't. Story 30. The term is backhanded. I've recently begun to take part in karaoke to accompany my hugely talented girlfriend who sings beautifully. If I've had too much to drink, I just cannot sing well. At the end of one night, a guy sought me out, shook my hand, and sincerely told me how much he admired my courage for coming out and giving it my all, despite singing off key. Story 31. Wow, you've lost so much weight. Thanks, Richard. The last time I saw you, my liver and kidneys were failing, and I was on dialysis. I'm much better now that my organs are functioning properly. Story 32. You have a more European nose. I'm black as hell. Okay. Thanks. What the heck? Also, it was my friend's mom, so I was just being nice. She made an amazing meal that I still think about to this day. Laugh out loud. Story 33. I don't know if my friend was trying to be sarcastic, but they randomly told me, I like that your eyes are kind of downturned. Yeah, I stared for a couple of seconds because I genuinely thought in that moment they hated me because they noticed the thing I almost hate the most about myself. But I realized they seemed to have no malicious intent. That still sucked. Story 34. My oldest brother visited from out of town after maybe a year of thankfully not dealing with him and greeted me with, Your face has really cleared up, as the first words out of his mouth. Story 35. Oh, it must be so reassuring to know that your fourth graders really like you. I bet it makes you feel really confident in your teaching abilities because kids don't usually respect overweight teachers. From my very old-fashioned, nearly 3 times my age, mentor-teacher's teammate during my student teaching. Story 36. Before my grandma passed, she always made comments about my weight loss ever since I started bulking. She would sass me for not eating much, and she told me I lost a good chunk of weight. I was like, how? You don't have that Homer Simpson stomach. My response was, ouch. Story 37. I recently lost 87 pounds and then had the extra skin around my middle removed. I work in a preschool and had several people see before and after pictures and say, wow, I didn't realize you were so overweight before. They knew me when I was overweight, so why the surprise? Sigh. Story 38. I explained to someone that I had gone to high school in a village north of the Arctic Circle, and they replied, well, you're very well spoken. Thanks? Story 39. It was, wow, you're so brave for wearing that. It's like they're trying to sound supportive, but you can tell they really mean, I wouldn't be caught dead in that. Definitely not as nice as it sounds. Story 40. Someone once told me I'm really good at not trying hard and still succeeding. It was like getting praised for my slacker spirit while the universe snickered in the background. Thanks for the vote of moderately immense potential, I suppose. Story 41. I'm reasonably disconnected from my family, but my toddler nephew has taken a shine to me and regularly asks me to read him stories or play with him. I made a comment to my mother that at least someone in the family likes me, and she replied, no, it's not that, your nephew just likes saying your name, and my aunt agreed with her. Still hurts. Story 42. My supervisor said I was the best actress he had ever seen, assuming that I was faking something to get out of work. I was diagnosed with a life-threatening sinus infection that resulted in a seizure disorder. The acting he saw was me having a seizure, and I could only move my eyes, blink, and move my head a little. He never apologized. Story 43. You should be selling used cars instead. You're not cut out for this place. Thanks, random customer, but I've been here for 5 years and I've been doing just fine. Story 44. A tattoo artist was giving me some nice eyebrows and told me I was one of those women who could almost get away without wearing makeup. I laughed so hard. Almost. Story 45. I would totally date you if you were taller. Said more than once by girls I seriously wanted to date. I was even taller than most of them besides 1 or 2, shaking my head. Story 46. Oh, your hair looks so good today, wow. Really? Thanks, it's just my natural out-of-the-shower hair, so, wow, are you serious? Because it's the best I've ever seen your hair look. Yeah, thanks. Story 47. I used to be in a writer's group with a guy who would comment on my appearance instead of my work. I tend to write horror and darker or more violent stuff, and he would always say, but you're so cute. Like, okay, thank you, how does this help my writing? And if you aren't going to give me any feedback, why should I be expected to give you any? Story 48. Oh, this just happened to me last weekend. I was at a bar where a great 1980s cover band was playing. The crowd definitely skewed older, 50 and up. I was grabbing my tab at the end of the bar while my nephew was out playing some pinball in the attached retro arcade. I noticed 2 older ladies looking at me and maybe even trying to catch my attention. I just kept my gaze ahead, trying to catch one of the bartender's eyes to get my bill. Right after the bartender left, one of the two ladies reached over and grabbed my arm to get my attention. I looked over and smiled, and she yelled something at me. The band was playing some final song, so it was pretty loud. I just motioned that I couldn't hear or understand her. So she leaned across her friend to get right next to my face. She said, "Has anyone ever told you that you look like Ryan Reynolds?" I have been referred to a few stars at certain times in my life, but to my knowledge, no, I have never been compared to Mr. Deadpool. I just said, "That is so flattering. I have not been compared to him, but he is a beautiful man, so thank you." She then qualified that compliment with, "Well, from your upper lip and up, you totally look like him." My shocked face was probably apparent, and I could only say, "Thanks, but wait, from my lower lip to my feet, I look like who? Zach Galifianakis." No clue why I said his name. I was just a little stunned at being compared, but only a certain part of my face. I guess some comparison to the sexiest man alive is at least worth something. Story 49. Older British gentleman, after we had our two kids, came to visit, and when he saw me said, "Motherhood really suits you. You used to be such a gawky teenager." This person only met me when I was 27, but he thought I was a teenager then. Guess I looked young? Story 50. I ran into an old friend who used to have a crush on me. He was not happy that I didn't reciprocate his interest, so we hadn't seen each other in years. When I ran into him, he said, "When I saw you across the room, I thought to myself, now there's someone who was probably really attractive when he was younger." And I was right.